up, YouTube? I'm Danielle, and this is Kitchen Optimist. I'm a novice cook, but expert eater, taking on recipes that scare the salt out of me 1 teaspoon at a time. Today's an exciting day. I'm not gonna do 1, but 2 recipes, sushi/sashimi inspired. They are dupes, rip-offs, inspired by, homages to, a couple of pretty recognizable Nobu recipes. The first is a crispy rice with tuna, and the second is the salmon carpaccio. Since they are both tributes to Nobu, I figured they went together well. The crispy rice with spicy tuna recipe comes from a site called moribion.com. There's only 1 review of it, and usually I would stay away from that, but photos look great. That's really what did it for me. The recipe that is based off of the NOBU-STYLE sashimi, which is the salmon one, comes from another website I've never used before called simmerandsauce.com, and again, photos on point. I will of course include links to both recipes in the description below. Let's get started. We're gonna start with the crispy rice recipe because that one requires more assembly and setting time, and I'll be able to do the salmon one while I wait. First off, we need 2 cups of sushi rice, which she suggests letting sit for 15 minutes in water if you have the time. And hey, I'm unemployed. I've got nothing but time. In the meantime, I'm going to assemble the seasonings for the rice, which I will be heating in a teeny tiny pot on the stove. 1/4 cup of rice vinegar, 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar. I just dumped sugar all over myself. And 1 teaspoon of toasted sesame seed oil. The recipe doesn't actually say toasted, but she mentions it's for flavoring. There is untoasted sesame seed oil, which I have bought and been very disappointed by because it's just like any cooking oil. I have my 2 cups of 15 minutes soaked and well-rinsed sushi rice. I have 3 cups of water on the stove, and I'm waiting for that to boil. While my rice cooks, I'm going to start my other ingredient prep. 1/4 cup of green onions, thinly sliced. I am making this recipe on the Tuesday following Memorial Day. When I went to buy my sushi grade tuna, a number of places were out of stock because it was Memorial Day. Fair. I don't really want old tuna anyway. Because I'm stubborn, and because I already planned on this being part of tonight's dinner, I had to come up with a workaround. Delivery sashimi. The internet says that each piece of sashimi is approximately 2 ounces. That doesn't seem right. I looked at this and it looks a little light. This doesn't look like a pound. So we're breaking out our trusty food scale. Yikes. That is only 5 ounces, and that is all of the tuna I have. So for your knowledge, 1 slice of sashimi seems to be a lot closer to 1/2 ounce than to 2 ounces, which is a big difference. A big disappointing difference if you're me. So don't believe the internet when it tells you 2 ounces. I, for one, am shocked that the internet was incorrect on something. I'm just gonna go cry about it now. Okay, good news. The rice totally seems like it's supposed to seem. It tastes like rice. It is not mushy, nor is it already crunchy, which sometimes is something that happens to be. And there go the seasonings. It's sticky. It tastes some of that rice wine and sugarness to it. It seems level-ish. So into the fridge it goes for 1 hour to 2 hours. I am going to approximate the ingredients at a little over 1/4 based on the amount of fish I have. Oh, this is gonna be so hard. Hey Siri, how much is 1/4 of a 1/4 cup? Ooh, how to cut recipes down. Perfect. Finely diced. 1/4 cup of Kewpie mayo, so that means I need a little over a tablespoon. Under a tablespoon of sriracha. The recipe calls for 3 tablespoons. What is 1/4 of a tablespoon in teaspoons? Oh yeah. I need 0.75 of a teaspoon of soy sauce. Juice of 1/2 lime, so I'm not gonna fully squeeze this one. Recipe calls for 2 teaspoons of sesame oil, so I'm gonna do a little over 1/2. This will go in the fridge while we wait. So I don't mean to brag, but I do have the proper quantity of ingredients for this recipe. This recipe makes 4 servings, so I'm just gonna do 1/4. And those conversions actually look really easy, so I'm excited about that. I have never julienned anything. I am confident that there is an easier way to do this. am gonna have to look up how to julienne it at some point. So I have a 1/4 pound of sushi grade salmon. I should not be handling this, and I wouldn't if I were serving it to somebody else. I am the only one eating this, so I'm gonna finger this fish all I want. Paper thin slices and arrange on the plate. We're gonna get as close as we can to paper thin. I'm doing the best I can, and sometimes that's all you can do. My salmon is fanned out-ish. Now I scatter some minced garlic and ginger on top. Their photo doesn't have ginger just placed willy-nilly. Now I am placing the julienned scallions neatly. Sprinkle sesame seeds and drizzle 1 tablespoon, possibly my last tablespoon, I have another bottle, of soy sauce and a tablespoon of yuzu juice. So we'll start with this. I love yuzu juice. Or legend has it that the recipe was created when somebody sent back their plate because they didn't like raw fish. So they did this hot oil thing to like semi-cook it, which makes it very clear that I should not ever be a restaurant owner, because my reaction would have been, then why are you at a sushi restaurant if you don't like raw fish? That said, we're gonna heat 3 tablespoons of olive oil and 1 tablespoon of sesame oil until it is almost boiling. Ew, boiling oil, huh? Yeah, until it is almost to a boil. Well, that is a very satisfying sizzle. Maybe because my pieces are a bit wonky, they're not all covered in the oil, but let's go for one. I taste the yuzu, for sure, which is great. It's good. I like it. I might stop right before the oil piece of it. I do like that it cooks the garlic a little bit, because I'm not a huge fan of just like straight up raw garlic straight in your gullet, but I like it. Mine certainly wasn't as pretty, but it's delicious. So start to finish, this dish took me 36 minutes and 55 seconds to make. I would absolutely make this again. I would feel real fancy serving this to people as an appetizer if they came over for dinner. Easy entree into working with raw fish. The fussiest part about it was the julienning. All in, this dish cost $136.38 to make. Before you freak out, this is a 1/4 of that. So that is that amount for 4 people. Of that, $58.18 are the ingredients, and $78.20 is the cookware, the equipment. You likely already have a chopping board. You likely already have a pot or a pan that you can heat this in. You won't be buying that from scratch. I just like to include all those costs. So if we're looking at just the ingredients though, that's under $60 for a sushi appetizer for 4 people. I don't know if it's on par with a restaurant. Depends where you live, I guess. I have definitely paid more than that. I don't know if that's something I should be proud of. It's not cheap, certainly not. I'm not saying that this is like the cheap option to doing this, but I do think it is reasonably priced to do it. And considering it's only 36 minutes of your day, I don't think it's that bad. You might want to make sure that somebody else is making the entree while you're focusing on this, but totally worth it. I would totally make it again. I'm running through my mental Rolodex of who I can serve this to next. Don't leave. We still have to finish our crispy rice with spicy tuna. I'm going to prep the garnished pieces of that. Doesn't say how much avocado to use. It just says thinly slice or mash. Photos had it thinly sliced, so I'm gonna try that. We're gonna revisit gloves for the jalapeno because I wear contact lenses and I've been down that road before. And we're cutting it into, she says squares or rectangles. It feels a little loose-ish still, but we're gonna go with it. Next up, we're moving over the stove and we are shallow frying it. Let's do it. While this works on browning, I'm going to make this spicy mayo, which I forgot to do before. A 1/2 cup of Kewpie mayo, 1/4 cup of sriracha, and 3/4 of a teaspoon of lemon juice. It is sitting. I'm gonna go get an apron. Ow! Mix. Here's our spicy mayo. Oh, that's spicier than my husband is gonna like. They are fried, they're still warm, and I drained them a little bit on this rack. Crunchy. So now we assemble. We're going by the photo. Some avocado on each slice. Okay, some fish. Teeny tiny jalapeno on top. Drizzle it with spicy mayo. And finally, black sesame seeds. Let's try this. I don't know that it needs that drizzle of spicy mayo on the top. It feels very mayo forward. Okay, I feel like this is a win. I'll probably make my crispy rices a bit bigger next time to really give myself some more space to get all those flavors, because I taste the frying oil a lot. I'll be straight up with you. I'm sure I have been to Nobu. I was at enough fashion parties in my decade and a half in New York that I'm sure I was there at some point. I more closely associate this dish actually with koi. It's in Bryant Park, not because they originated it, to be clear, but because it's where my friend and I used to always go and grab this after work. We were having a bad day or a celebratory day or a Tuesday. So it is not as good as theirs, which means I'm sure it is not as good as Nobu's either. I think that's probably more user error than the recipe. I don't know, maybe a bit more salt. I'm not sure. I'm really happy with it. I love this dish. There's a place here that we get it from occasionally, 210 Jack. Love it, but we get more delivery than eating there, and it's just not a dish that travels well. It's also not a dish you can just whip up, given the fact that it needs an hour to 2 hours sitting in the fridge, but I would much rather plan and make this myself than have it delivered, though I would rather have it done better and served to me at a restaurant. I would absolutely use this recipe again. I think maybe I would err on the side of 2 hours letting the rice sit, because it stayed together, but it felt a bit precarious when I first took it out. Very crunchy, very crispy. Not a food you want to eat on an early day. You won't be able to hear over your crunching. You will get black sesame seeds stuck in your teeth. If you're not sure about how you do with spice, you may end up with more than you wanted. That said, it's a very comfortable level of spice for me. I might put more spice in the fish and omit the spicy mayo at the end. This took me 3 hours, 10 minutes, and 39 seconds. That does include resting time. That only accounts for an hour in the fridge. You can do some of your prep during that. All in, this dish cost me $336.61 to make. That includes ingredients and equipment. It does not include the kitchen scale. It does not include the price based on having delivery sashimi used for this. So ingredients, $91.82. Equipment, $244.79. Not cheap to make, impressive to make, fun to serve. Can't make in advance. I just don't imagine that this is going to sit super well, but would 100% do it again. Recommend this recipe. I'm going to check out her site for additional recipes. Between this and the salmon, it was a pretty good effort on my part. Assuming I don't get food poisoning, this is a total win. Like, I'm thrilled that these both turned out well, but it's more about trying something that scares me, and in this case, triumphing over it, although not triumphing over preparation and measurements. That was the most annoying thing about this recipe, probably, trying to adjust the quantities to maintain the ratio with the smaller amount that I have, because I did not plan properly for my tuna. I should have to write that on a chalkboard behind me. And that's it, I guess. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. I'm Danielle. This is Kitchen Optimist, fighting the good fight for mediocre cooks everywhere. Stay salty and crunchy.